What's going on, everybody? I am Phil Rossi, host of the podcast Don't Turn Around, and you are here for the third episode of It Came from the Web, the new series where I explore the spooky stories from the internet. A self indulgent journey for sure, but I love watching the spooky clips and just wondering if they could be real. As we know, there's a ton of content out there on the internet, and it's hard to sort through it all with a believer's eye. And that's what this show is about. It's about having some of that very important suspension of disbelief to be able to experience a little bit of magic in our day. Now, that's not to say on this show you won't see me pull up clips and debunk them or share my skepticism on them, because, of course, skepticism is very important and very healthy in anyone's pursuit of the paranormal. Don't forget to subscribe to Don't Turn Around, my primary podcast. You could find it anywhere where you get your podcasts. And in fact, if you are already a Don't Turn Around listener, then you will be hearing this on the Don't Turn Around podcast feed. This episode will also, as well as the others, be available on YouTube as well and on Twitch video on demand. Now, speaking of listeners and viewers, I need to let the Instagram viewers know that Instagram is having issues. So just give me just a second here. Remember, this is live, so we're gonna see things like this from time to time, where I have to jump through the fourth wall and and help people out. Okay. Hopefully those folks can find their way on over to YouTube and onto Twitch. So I've got a bunch of fun clips for you today to expand your minds and tickle your imagination. Uh, I got a lot of great feedback from the last episode where I started off sharing some clips of my own from some of my own investigations and paranormal experiences. So I've decided to make that part of the routine where I will share some footage and some audio that I've gathered on my own paranormal investigations. As many of you know, if you are listeners of Don't Turn Around, in addition to being a paranormal podcaster, I am also an active paranormal investigator. And I'm feeling very, very excited about investigation right now because we have a trip coming up at the end of the month to the very well known, infamous Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. So hopefully, I'll have a few clips to share from there. And if you're interested in seeing my full investigations, you can swing by oldspiritsinvestigations.com to see what my amazing team is doing out there in the field. And with that preamble said, let's get into some of the footage here. So, last episode, I invited you to join me to a trip to Daniels, Maryland. If you missed that, the short recap is Daniels, Maryland is an abandoned town, a ghost town in Maryland, and it's near Baltimore. The official town is Ellicott City. This was a town that was abandoned in 1972 after a major hurricane wiped out the entire town. And only at that time, a few residents still remained. But after the hurricane, it was completely abandoned. We have visited Daniels on multiple occasions, and it is a really, really spectacular location where we've had so many different things happen, from hits on our devices to EVPs to disembodied voices, and even to spotting some shadow figures. And that's the clip that I'm going to share first with all of you, is this clip of what I took to be a shadow figure standing on a pile of rocks. Now, as with the content on the internet, not all of the footage is going to be of the best quality, and this clip would be one of them. But to give a little context for this particular moment, this was toward the end of the day. It was almost sunset, and there seems to be a shift during this liminal time in the energy of Daniels, and in particular in this abandoned church that we've had some wild things happen. and I had separated from my family who was investigating with me that day and experienced weird time shifts, strange reality. And during that time is where I caught this shadow figure. So I'm going to share what I had made as a clip to put on the internet about a year or two ago. And so that's what I'll be sharing today. I will endeavor to find the raw footage of this, so it's not just an Instagram style clip, but that's what I have for you right now. And I do want to make a note too that it only seems appropriate that for this series, this podcast where I explore the spooky content of the internet, that I only add to it with my own content. So let's go ahead and let's check that clip out. All right, here we go. See if I can find the play button. We simply love exploring abandoned places. You never know what you're going to get. And at a recent investigation over holiday break in the woods of Maryland, things got very real, very fast, and we may have caught evidence of a shadow figure on our video. So I snagged a frame from that video clip and I'm going to share it here with you. And I'm going to let you all be the judge of what you think is going on here. So it's captured very fast, right? It is it's very quick. It's a pan of the camera as I'm racing through the abandoned church, shouting to my family that I'm coming and they can't hear me. And they're yelling for me. Apparently, I cannot hear them because at this point, everyone is just feeling the energy of this location. And in this particular image, I do highlight it, and there was nothing on this pile of stones here, right? And if you watch the video back slowly, you can actually see this thing materialize from the bottom up, and it has a strange glowing center to it. And this is not something I can easily explain. I've watched the video multiple times. I even tried to recreate the footage going back up to Daniels again, was not able to recreate this. And it just really, really was astounding. There's the shot from the distance. And boy, when I watched that footage back, I had expected to hear something, maybe an EVP or who knows what, but I didn't expect to capture a shadow figure. Now, what's interesting, as we were leaving Daniels, walking our way up the path that day, my daughter, in fact, saw a shadow figure up on the ridge that you march past to get out of Daniels. And I actually did manage to capture that on video as well. But what was more interesting to me was I captured my daughter's reaction, where she actually stopped, turned, and then ran to join up with the rest of the group after she saw something that she couldn't explain. So for me, Daniels is a spot that keeps on giving. Okay, up next, another one of my favorite outdoor locations, one of the most intense locations we have investigated, is the crash site of TWA Flight 514, which crashed on December 1st, 1974, killing all of its passengers and the whole entire crew almost instantaneously. This plane was not high enough to pass over the mountain and then essentially crashed right into the side of it. Terrible, terrible tragedy. This is not a spot that is really accessible anymore because they've built houses around this spot, which is a little. Mm, well, I'll let you figure out what it is, but I don't think it's the best thing in the world that people are building houses on this location. And so we did an investigation in August of, I believe it was 2021. You can find the footage of that investigation on oldspirits.com. So I recommend you swing by over there and check that out. It was man, it was quite an experience that my buddy T and I, who was my partner in crime in Old Spirits Investigations, it was a real bonding moment for us. Okay, so here we go. This first one is, well, I'll play it first and then we'll talk through it. So let me go ahead and get that up and running. All right, let's see. How do I? Okay. Audio should be sharing. You can let me know in the chat if you're not getting audio. And it looks like someone in the chat might be having some issues with their headphones. So perhaps you can, if there's anyone in the chat that is willing to help them troubleshoot, please have at it. But let's go ahead and give this a listen. And of course, you're going to hear sounds of nature very clearly. This was summertime, so there were insects, there were birds, a lot going on, which is what makes outdoor investigation a real challenge. I do happen to love outdoor investigation. My buddy T, who is, I think, on the stream right now, he's not the biggest fan, but I still manage to drag him out there every once in a while. Okay, did you hear anything there? Sort of underneath the bird chirping. So I hear a voice around the 1 second mark. Let's play that one more time. So what I hear there is a voice saying, "What am I going to do?" It sounds like a very sad voice. And the first time I heard that when I was reviewing evidence, it spooked me a little bit, to be honest, because it came through so clearly. But also it made me sad because I feel like there's a definite sad, confused quality to that voice. And I think that's something important to remember when we're talking about the paranormal, when we're going out there and investigating. If we do subscribe to the concept of the afterlife, if we do believe that ghosts exist, a lot of these ghosts are the formerly living. They were people. And we don't really know how much of their conscious self they maintain in the afterlife because we don't have any hard evidence of it. But I like to believe that these spirits can either be aspects of their former self or they could be, their whole self. And to capture an EVP like this one where there's emotion, it gives you pause. It definitely gives you pause. Okay, so that is one EVP that I brought back with T from the TWA Flight 514 crash site. And now I'm going to present another one to you. Okay. So, like with the other one, I'm just going to play this a couple times, see if you hear anything, and then we'll chat about it a little bit. Well, I'm just going to walk a little bit. These are better from on this side. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. We're going to play it one more time. I'll just give you a hint. The voice comes through in this section right here where I'm pointing out. Well, I'm just going to walk a little bit. These are better from on this side. Okay, so did you hear what sounded like a female voice? I'm going to play that specific section a couple times now. Now, I cannot remember what we decided we thought that was saying. T was the one that figured out, at least had the best idea of what the voice was saying. But again, that voice was not any of us. That was not something that we had heard at the time. That was a 100% an EVP. It was not a bird. Again, it was not a sound that we heard at the time. And in the earliest days of investigating, when we didn't have piles and piles of evidence to go through, I would listen to this stuff pretty much right away because I'd be so pumped and so excited. And so my memory of the day was very much intact. And so I could not remember having heard any sounds like that at the time. So again, that was an EVP captured at the TWA Flight 514 crash site. Okay, well, that is my contribution to the spooky stuff on the internet. And now, why don't we go ahead and get into some of these bits and pieces that I have found as I've walked the path of the internet's spooky side. All right, let's see here. Oh, and it's got everything listed backwards for me. Please stand by. Let's see. What happens if I click on that one? Is this it? Nope. Oh, it gives me a preview. That's nice. All right. Where are you? Where are you? Boom. Okay. Got it. Okay. So this is a video recorded by a babysitter, shared on TikTok. Originally, I picked this up on Instagram, shared by content creator Louis Bug, who I don't know too much about. I just happened to randomly come across this clip that was posted a couple years back. That's another thing that I'm interested in doing, trying to grab some clips that people maybe haven't seen because there's such a proliferation of these gimmicky, 2 million view clips. I'm trying to find some of the more obscure stuff. So to that end, if you want to contribute clips that you found on your own that you find to be compelling, you can send that along to dtapodcastinfo@gmail.com. And if you're just joining, welcome to It Came From the Web. I'm Phil Rossi, host of Don't Turn Around. And today we are just going over some of the spooky things the internet has to offer. Okay, let's jump into this clip. This is, you see this chair in this back corner here? I want you to pay attention to that chair, okay? And let's jump right into it.
Liam, come here. Liam, right now. What is happening? Okay, I'm calling your mom. Just stay right here.
That rocking.
Okay. So the chair seemingly started rocking on its own, and any number of things could have been done to cause that chair to rock. And so it could very well be a fabrication. I don't want to believe that it is because it is pretty stinking cool. What do you guys think? You think we're looking at a hoax? You think this chair actually started rocking? One thing that I find particularly, we'll say, compelling about the video is that, let's see if we can go ahead and share it, is just the tone of the babysitter's voice. So we're going to give that another play. Enjoying a popsicle, and he turns his head right when
Liam, come here.
Starts
Liam, right
rocking.
now. What is happening?
Of course, she says she's going to call her mom or his mom. I mean, I don't really see anything jumping out that could be moving the chair. I wish the whole thing was visible. And granted, it starts rocking somewhat slowly, right? And then I wish I could scrub this footage here.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I cannot. Yeah, there's no way back.
Calling your mom. Just stay right here.
That
But
rock-
it's going pretty good there. It is going pretty darn good. Almost too good, right? Almost too good. So we have a number of things to consider in that clip. One is the actual movement of the chair. Two is the reaction of the kid. Three is the reaction of the babysitter. I don't know. What do you guys think? T says that it'd be interesting if we got a whole look at the chair, and absolutely would have been very interesting. Now it is a brief video, right? And so maybe that's because, well, she wanted to call mom right away, and she can't film the chair while she's calling mom. So that's one possibility. Either way, pretty cool clip. Pretty cool clip. And if you suspend your disbelief, it's a pretty creepy clip. All right. Let's move on to our next clip, which I will call the Compton alien clip. This was captured, I'm assuming, in Compton, California, on someone's doorbell cam. And I'm not going to say too much more about it. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and we can just jump right into it. All right, here we go. Huh. Why don't we play that again? Now, it it sure looks like an alien, right? Or a ghost or who knows what. But there's a few things to pay attention when I play that clip again. In particular, what happens when it moves past what looks like it might be some kind of a basket or something hanging there on the side. So let's go ahead. We'll jump back over and we're going to play that again. So it seems to distort when it gets to whatever this thing is down here. And I wish I knew what that thing was in this area. I mean, is it something that's clear? Because, and the reason I ask if is it something that's clear, otherwise you would think this basket would distort that, right? Well, some people are saying that it's a trash bag or a guy with a hoodie, which I guess it could be. Let's see, they're saying it shows a blurred face. I'm not seeing the blurred face. So the bug on the planter box is disappearing between frames. Now, granted, these Ring cameras don't have the highest frame rate. Reminds me a little bit of that scene in Signs where they have the news footage of somewhere in South America where where the aliens are first seen. It's kind of got that vibe. And so I definitely love the vibe, but there's enough going on here that does make me a little bit lean toward the skeptical side on this. And that's what I'll say about that. Okay, we are cranking along here today. I'm so glad that you all could join for this podcast, for this live experience. For those of you that are watching it on demand or listening to this on the Don't Turn Around podcast feed, make sure to follow on Instagram at Don't Turn Around podcast, because I do drop announcements when I'm doing these live shows, which is every other week. Try to time it every other week in between the full episodes of Don't Turn Around, to give us a little bit of something to lay awake in bed at night thinking about when we're waiting for the next episode of Don't Turn Around to drop. Okay, moving along. So the next thing I'm going to share is not a video clip, but rather it is one of my favorite ghost images, right? So this is a ghostly image that was captured at the White House quite some time, quite a long time ago. And I can't remember. I got to think about it. I think it was President Truman gutted gutted the entire White House. I think there were structural issues or something was going on where the White House was not safe anymore. So they gutted the entire interior and then rebuilt the White House, essentially the whole interior of the White House. During this time, there were some photographs taken, and this one photograph in particular has something spooky going on. So let's take a look. And I first saw this image on a series. I think it was on the History Channel. I think it was called The Haunted White House or the Possession at the White House. And the White House is no stranger to ghost stories. There's actually quite a few ghost stories from the White House. And I would love if OSI could have the opportunity to go there and investigate. Maybe not right now, but maybe a few years from now. Not that that is something that's ever going to happen. So we see in the image we've got our construction equipment, we've got the support beams, we got rubble, we got dirt, we got these two gentlemen standing here all the way in the back of the photo, chit-chatting away. But then if you look to the right just a little bit, what's going on over there? There's something in this image that at first glance you'd miss it. At first glance, honestly, I missed it. I was never great at Where's Waldo. So, but when it was pointed out, I suddenly could not see anything else in this picture other than what is going on there. Okay, so I'm zooming in for you all. So you see these guys hanging out over here. And then right here, we have what appears to be another figure. Only this figure seems to have a translucent appearance. And I just love this. I love this picture, whether or not it's an actual ghost, whether it's just discoloration in the bricks in the background. Uh it's pretty spectacular, I think. It's one of those images that makes you think, makes you think, and it's one of those images that it could really go either way. I don't know if this photograph has been forensically analyzed in any way. And for those that are listening to this show, so you see, as I mentioned, the gutted interior of the White House. To the left portion, you have several gentlemen that are engaged in conversation, and then to the right of them, maybe by about a dozen or more feet, you have this dark, shadowy kind of spectral figure there. I don't know if I can zoom in any further, or is that the extent of it? Yeah, that's the extent of it. But wow, I do think that is cool, though. I do think that is cool, and I was so excited when I first saw this image. Again, had my skeptical side was chiming in, but I just thought it was very cool. So I'm happy to be able to share that with all of you. I'm back. Okay. So let's move along here. Let's go to one of my favorite places to find some fun and spooky stories. It's a little place called Reddit. Now, again, got to take it with a grain of salt. Anyone can post to Reddit. Anyone can post a story. As a storyteller, I appreciate a good spooky story. And this one is not overtly a ghost story. It's just a story of weirdness, right? Just a story of something weird. So let's go ahead and let's take a look. And I'll even let you all, well, I don't know if you want to read along, so I think I'll just read it. You let me know in the comments if you prefer to have the article up on the screen as I'm reading it, or if you are okay with just having me read it for you. Okay, let's go. So this is entitled "I had a terrifying experience today in Goodwill, of all places. Please help." This was posted 5 days ago on the paranormal subreddit by Chambers County 12 Tag. Okay, they start off by saying, "Please, no jokes. I am frightened and I'm not a person who scares easily. I live alone and solo backpack deep in the woods for fun. I sleep like a baby, or I used to. Today, I had one of the best days of my life. Things have really turned around for me and I was in a great mood. I love thrift shopping, so I decided to stop at Goodwill. While I was in the housewares aisle, I had a feeling that someone was watching me. I turned, and there was only one other person in the aisle at this very crowded Goodwill. She appeared to be between 18 and 25. She was very pale, with dark hair, dressed all in black. She didn't have anything in her hands. She was not holding a purse. She wasn't looking at anything except me. Her eyes were incredibly dark. I was immediately uncomfortable. My first thought was, what is she doing here? She doesn't belong here. Then every cell of my body propelled me away from her at lightning speed. This is when the thing that really bothered me happened. I walked away from her with my cart, and then I turned my head, and she was beside me, just across the aisle. It was like she had teleported. It scared the shit out of me. I decided to leave. As I was going to leave the store, my niece and her family happened to walk in. I swear we don't have family reunions at Goodwill. This was a day of such strange coincidences. I spoke to them briefly and then left. The woman scared me, so I decided I just wasn't going to think about it anymore. I went about the rest of my day like normal. It's about an hour ago when my cell phone rang. It was my niece's husband, but the call would not connect. That's not super unusual because I live in the woods, so I tried to call him on my phone. That wouldn't connect either, and that's unusual. That's when I received a text from him that said, "Really odd, I know, but do you remember a young woman dressed in black emo style at the Goodwill today, maybe 18 to 25? I had chills all over as soon as I read that, and I was instantly, viscerally terrified. I knew that he had seen her too. I tried to call again, and this time the call went through. He had the same experience that I had had, the soulless yet soul-staring look, the teleporting, the dread, and desire to get away from her. He is a fully grown adult man with a full-time job and a family, and he typically would not be afraid of a random woman at Goodwill. I feel it's important to mention here that my niece never saw her and though her husband and thought her husband was crazy until I confirmed the story. I don't know what I saw. I don't know why my niece's husband saw it too, but she did. I don't know why it frightened us so badly. I shut all of my curtains and blinds. I locked all of my doors. I lit some candles and asked for protection. I have been shaking. I'm 50 years old and I am scared. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Take your time. I'll be up all night." And I like this little part here. Update: I was not up all night. I lit white candles, salted my windowsill, said a prayer, and went to sleep. I still have no idea what actually happened yesterday, but I'm going to go back to not thinking about it. It didn't come home with me, and that is enough for me. And then goes on to share another strange experience they had. But I just want to pause and let this sink in. Again, as I mentioned, it's not an overtly like over the hammer over the head ghost story. It's just a story of a creepy experience. And it highlights the fact that it doesn't matter where we are. Creepy experiences can happen anywhere, or not even creepy, but unexplained experiences can happen no matter where we are. And I think it's important to be open to them. And sometimes, yes, they will spook you. I don't think that there are inherent threats in a lot of these experiences, but she could have very well experienced spirit or ghost of some kind. She could have experienced maybe someone had time shifted. There's a lot of different possible explanations from the paranormal side of it, and then from the not so paranormal side, it could have just been a spooky person that was hanging out at the Goodwill store, and for whatever reason wanted to creep people out. I don't know, but this was just one of those stories that when I read it, it gave me the chills a little bit as well, and so I hope it gave you all the chills too. Okay, all right. got another story from Reddit. This is again from the paranormal subreddit. This is titled Ghost/Fae Stealing Clothing, double question marks. And this is from Lexi Mullen. And this is a shorter one. I feel vaguely crazy, but I really don't know what to do. I've always joked about the little house goblins that steal items of mine, like a crochet hook or tape. I always ask for it back, and it shows back up. But recently, they started taking clothes, and I don't know what to do about it. If them upping their game should be worrisome. They took a dress sometime in the last few days. I looked for it everywhere. So did my husband. Our bedroom floor was completely bare, and then it randomly showed up today in the middle of the bedroom floor. They've also taken parts of my pajama sets. I'm not trying to psych myself out about it too much because I don't know what to do. Some friends say to not acknowledge it. Others say, yes, acknowledge it. Should we be pulling out the sage and crystals sort of thing? So this is an interesting one to me because I recently had a experience with a missing object. So I have a set of earbuds that I love. They're my Galaxy Buds. I love the sound quality. I would use them all the time. And one day they vanished. I remembered setting them down somewhere very specifically, and then they vanished. And I passed this off as just me being me. And if you know me outside of podcasting and all the other good stuff, you know that I do tend to lose things, car keys, glasses, my wallet. And yes, I have misplaced my earbuds before, but I misplaced my earbuds so many times that I was making a real conscious effort to be aware of where I was setting them down. So that's why I was so perplexed that how could I have lost them again, especially when I remembered very clearly I had been walking the dogs, listening to music, and I came into the house and I had a phone call come in and I stood in the entryway of the house on the phone call, got off the phone, took the earbuds out, placed them back into the case, and then set them by the front door. And came back a little while later to pop them back in, and they were gone. And I was the only one home, so someone didn't move them. And I just took it for that I had picked them up, placed them somewhere strange on that main floor, or placed them somewhere in my office, and that was it. So I looked for them for several weeks at least. I looked in every possible space. My wife helped me look for them, and she's an ace at finding things. I wondered if I had left them at a friend's house. I wondered if I left them in a friend's car. I looked everywhere possible. And then about a week ago, they just showed up. After my wife bought me a beautiful new set of earbuds that I like even more. We'll say that I like them even more because I do. They showed up in our bedroom on the exercise bike in there, just sitting there in the cup holder. And I had checked that spot. I had checked that spot because I wondered, did I just leave them on the bike when I was on my way into the bathroom to shower? But no, it didn't feel like a place where I would have put them. I had checked there. I'm 99.9% certain that I had checked there, and they just showed up. So there could be something to this whole objects vanishing. I would love to know if any of you have had similar experience with objects vanishing and then reappearing. You can, of course, leave that in the comments. You can shoot me an email at dtapodcastinfo@gmail.com because I'd love to hear from you if you've had any similar experience. Okay, so that was a good one. That one made me think of my earbuds, and which is why I had to share that story. Okay, let's move along to what I will call the spooky compilation. And I think a lot of it is possibly fabricated. I'll say that at the outset, not to be a downer, but of course, I invite you to also be the judge. Let's see. And why do I say that this could potentially be a fabrication? Because I see like any videos that are titled the scariest videos from the deep web, things that are so sensational. It's hard to not be really, 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 really skeptical. But that being said, if these are faked, and I'm only gonna show a couple of them, they are pretty creepy. So let's go ahead. We'll just take a look at maybe the first two. Okay, this is someone being led off into the woods by someone spooky. This person is still missing. I don't know if there is any evidence to back this up. I haven't looked too deeply into this. To me, it just looks like a couple people walking off into the woods. And this is something that could be easily faked. I mean, this is I can call T, have him come over, have him hold my hand, and we can walk off into the night in the frame of my ring cam and have a fairly convincing video. This made me laugh. This is man lives near your graveyard, films his son playing with a ghost. I mean, let's face it. Come on. I mean, it was very spooky when they did the sheet move in Paranormal Activity. But I think this is a string and a kid just playing along. This one, I couldn't really figure out what was going on, so we're going to skip it. This was just creepy and weird. And so I wanted to share it. I really hope this is not real. Also, they have a huge bed, and I thought that was remarkable as well. It looks like they have two queen beds stuck together. So this is supposed to be a possessed doll walking around. I mean, what kind of doll? What kind of doll is that has these creepy long ass arms? I don't know, but I thought it was kind of creepy. But again, this I like to show some videos like this to highlight the fact that there is a lot of content out there on the internet, and that content is not always the greatest, and that makes it such a challenge to want to believe. And that's something that I try to hold on to as tightly as possible is my desire to believe. And when I see videos like the ones that I just share, it gives me a good chuckle. Okay. Wow. We are almost out of time here. So I think trying to see my clock. There it is. So I have a couple more that I'm going to share, and I'm trying to figure out. I got some tough choices to make here. So why don't I go ahead and because I do remember I had something very special that I wanted to share with you all. Something that I have not shared publicly yet, and it'll be the first place that I'm sharing it. And I do have a story to go along with it. I can't even remember if I shared it with my fellow investigators at Old Spirits. So, but before we get to that one, let's see. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this next one. Okay, this is another image for us to look at. And you should be able to see the screen now. Beautiful. So this is titled Mexican Photographer Carla Garcia Captures UFO over, okay, this is going to be a challenge, over volcano Popocatépetl. And that is the best that I'm going to be able to do with that. So you're going to have to give me a little grace. It's worth mentioning to the quote unquote debunkers, there are countless evidence in this, we'll say there is countless evidence in this specific volcano where they always appear. And I even have webcam videos from Mexican government cameras that have captured them. So I have actually seen this elsewhere. I have seen this on some paranormal television. I've seen different clips of this same volcano with some type of aerial phenomena captured. And I've even seen footage of similar, we'll say, similar craft in other locations. I mean, there's not a ton of detail. It's a black speck above a volcano. And then we got a couple, closer views of it. I mean, it's hard to know what to make of it. It's pretty interesting though. It's pretty cool. It is not unheard of UFOs to be spotted around sites of volcanic or any other geological activity. We can have a whole discussion on why that might be, and maybe we will on a future episode of it. It came from the web, but it is interesting. I would love to do some follow-up work on this to see if this is a photograph that MUFON has analyzed. MUFON is the Mutual UFO Network, and they are, I don't know how long they've been around, but for quite some time. And they take their investigations very seriously, and they use state of the art techniques to essentially debunk the sightings that are reported to them. Not that they don't want to believe, but they want to get down to the cases that are unexplained. And so they go in with a skeptic's eye, which again, in terms of investigation, be it UFOs, be it cryptids, be it ghosts, that skeptical eye is going to allow you to share the best evidence. And T, who's out there in the chat, I think would certainly agree that going in with a skeptical eye and trying to debunk the things that you're experiencing is what leads to those oh wow moments when things happen that you cannot explain. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to sit back for a moment. And let's go back in time a few months to the drones. And we haven't heard much about the drones lately, but back, I think it was in the fall, there were all these drone sightings reported. What was less reported was some of the stranger phenomenon that was occurring around these drone sightings. There was some discussion of these drones taking on different shapes and forms, transforming before people's very eyes. There are stories of cryptid sightings shortly before or after the drone sighting, and even encounters with ghosts and spirits coinciding with the drone sightings. I was fortunate enough to experience one of these drones, and I captured what I feel is some pretty good footage of it. This is the first time I am sharing this footage anywhere with anyone, unless I had already sent it to the peeps at OSI, which I might have shown them, to be honest, because I was so excited about it. But for whatever reason, I waited to share this on the internet, and I'm not sure why. What is important to note is that roughly around the same time, my wife, who was home alone, was experiencing some very strange activity in our house, including what sounded like someone walking around, someone standing on the stairs inside the house, if I'm remembering correctly, and just a strange, eerie vibe that lasted for a few minutes. So I think this is a great clip to end the show on. So let's go ahead, and I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm just going to play this. Okay. And you know what? Why don't we go ahead and make this full screen? The sound is the cars on the road, by the way. Now notice the two blinking lights on the wings of this thing. And you will hear an airplane, but there was actually an airplane that was passing over not too far from the house. And then I don't know if I didn't lose it at this point, but this thing passed directly over our house. Now, let's play that again. So you see the light in the distance, right? And then you can kind of start to see the red light blinking, and that again was a trademark characteristic of these drones. They had a green light, a solid green light, and a blinking red light, and then two lights under each wing, flashing in parallel. I did share this footage with a military expert and said, "Oh yeah, that's a drone without a doubt." And they felt that it was actually it was recording too. What is just so strange about it to me is the timing. Is the timing of this craft flying over our house, and that's actually a pretty good pause of it. And the strange things that were going on in our house. We don't live in a haunted house, and I want to be very, very clear about that. Our house is not haunted. Have we had interlopers? Things happen. Things pass through our house that we can't explain. Absolutely. Has it ever before coincided with a drone sighting and a drone flying directly over our house? Absolutely not. Are the two things necessarily related? Who's to say? The evidence of it, or the timing of it, could very well be coincidence, but it's also hard to pan off as pure coincidence when the timing was just so aligned. So that is my drone footage, which I have been sitting on since January. I'm so happy to be able to share that with all of you. And that brings us to the end of this episode of It Came From the Web. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for being a part of the Don't Turn Around community. Without your ears, none of these stories that I share would be possible, because stories need ears and need eyes to be able to get out there and to be able to proliferate. So please, if you enjoyed what you saw here today, well, make sure to share this episode far and wide with your friends or anyone who you think would enjoy this content. Make sure to subscribe to the Don't Turn Around podcast feed. You can find Don't Turn Around wherever you get podcasts. While you're there, I humbly ask that you leave Don't Turn Around a 5-star review. Reviews for podcasts are extremely important. It helps get the show out to more listeners, and that's the goal. I have so many incredible guests come through and so many wonderful stories that I just want to make sure are being shared as far and wide as possible. And a special thanks to the Patreon supporters. Without you, the lights wouldn't stay on, the servers wouldn't be up and running, and I just appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Look forward to sharing new Patreon content coming in the fall. Finally, if you're interested in seeing the full investigations where I share the EVPs from at the beginning of the show, make sure to swing by oldspiritsinvestigations.com. You can find Old Spirits on YouTube, and there you will get an idea of the shenanigans that T. Morris and I get to on a what I wish was a more regular basis. And with all that being said, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.